Welcome to Mormon Book Reviews, where an evangelical encounters the restoration. So this is kind of an interesting book because it's actually a book that's written by someone who was raised a Mormon but eventually left their faith. So it's actually a book by an ex-Mormon. Now typically on this channel, I don't really want to gravitate towards the ex or more so the anti-Mormon camp, because there's plenty of evangelicals that are making material about that. I'm not really all that interested. It doesn't serve any purpose, and you all know the spirit of my channel. But this is kind of a unique book because it's written by somebody who doesn't have an axe to grind with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Actually kind of has a relatively positive view of the church, and actually had a very positive experience while being a member of the church, and he was born into it by faithful parents. So it's kind of just a fascinating story, and this is by an author that actually is unknown to an American audience. He is American, but he lives in Germany, and he's kind of a bit of a public intellectual in the in Germany, and specializes in Middle Ages studies. So I don't know the exact title of what he got, but it's just kind of an interesting guy, real smart guy too. This is the first time that I'm actually reviewing a book where I've already interviewed the author, so it's kind of fun. So the name of the book is Losing My Religion, Why I Love and Left My Mormon Faith by Eric T. Hansen. So Eric was born in Hawaii, so he was kind of raised in a liberal environment, but his parents were conservative, more faithful Mormons. And the story is basically where he kind of talks about how he did three prayers. Of course, he prayed a lot as being a Mormon, but three important prayers that he gave in his life. The first one was when he was 8 years old, and when he prayed to God whether or not he should be baptized into the church or not. And he received an answer that the church was true and that he should do it. Now, he was 8 years old, so he was a very young person and very spiritual minded already. So he gives his background as a child, growing up in Hawaii. His older brothers loved to go surfing and do outdoor activities, where he liked to be locked in his bedroom reading J.R.R. Tolkien and The Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. So he was kind of a insular person who just kind of a bookworm, kind of a geek kind of guy. He wanted to be an intellectual from the very beginning. So he just talks about his time in Hawaii. And then we go and transition to the period of time when he's going to go onto his mission. Now, while he was in school, he studied German, and it turns out he was actually assigned to go to Dusseldorf, Germany. Now, this is in the early 80s, so this is like height of the Cold War. Reagan era is just starting. To start off, just to give you a little background, his second prayer was whether he should go on his mission or not. And when you read this book, it's interesting because when he prays, he really, really prays. And not only that, but he'll sit there for hours waiting for an answer for extended periods of time and try to clear his mind and get an answer from God. And then he got a confirmation that he was supposed to go on his journey. So he details his time as a missionary in Dusseldorf, Germany. Now you understand, he took German, but he got all D's in high school. So like for the first 6 months or so, he was not conversant at all in German. So his companions did most of the talking. He was just kind of like soaking it in and trying to learn as best he could the culture and the surroundings and the language. So finally, he starts being able to get the language a little bit, starts to be able to be more communicative with the local folk. And of course, with all these strikes against him, he of course hasn't baptized anybody yet. But an interesting story happens. He actually does end up baptizing somebody. He visits a home from this woman that was expressed some interest in the church. And while they were giving their presentation, her 16-year-old daughter came into the room and seemed particularly interested in the presentation, more so than the mother. So at this point, she wanted them to come back, so they did. Well, long story short, he ends up baptizing this girl. So I believe it was his only baptism. The story gets really interesting because as he was about to leave for home, traditionally, like when it's time to go, you just go. You don't stop anywhere. You just go home right away. But he decided to hop on the train and go see this girl and basically knock on the door with her mother was there. And he just wanted to tell her that I have feelings for you. And she reciprocated and also stated that she had feelings for him. So he gets back, hops on the bus or whatever, transportation, and then he heads out to Dusseldorf. Has a very interesting interview with his mission president. Kind of a test. It's kind of interesting to read the book. It's kind of something that kind of shook his faith a little bit. So that was interesting. So then let's talk about the third prayer, where essentially he starts questioning things about the church, about God, all the issues that one might encounter in the faith journey. So he does one final prayer and basically says goodbye to God. And that was the journey that he took. So those 3 prayers in the book are really the core of the message of the book. But when you read it, he talks so lovingly of his time in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And he has no axe to grind. So that's why I felt this was a book that was something that would be appropriate for this channel. And I think it's also a journey, a faith journey that he took that ultimately he led him out of the faith. But when I was interviewing him, like I explained to him, I said, we're still all on a faith journey. Even if you've left faith, that doesn't mean that you're still not on that journey. So, who knows where all this goes, right? But like I said, not an anti-Mormon, a very interesting person. Like I said, he's not known really to an American audience. He's just kind of breaking in with this book. And this actually is the very first book that an author sent me before I even started my channel. He was just giving a free giveaway on it for a contest to give like 5 copies away on a subreddit. So I put my name in and I got the book, and then he and I conversed. And then when the opportunity came for me to tell him I'd like to review your book and have you on, we did it, and he had a wonderful interview. So really that's what this channel is all about, building bridges, letting people talk and having a conversation and not trying to have an agenda. And so here is the official Mormon Book Reviews book review. Losing My Religion, Why I Love and Left My Mormon Faith. This particular book is a bit of a departure for my channel because it is written by an ex-Mormon. What makes this book unique, however, is the fact that it's not an anti-Mormon book. So it is exactly the kind of book that I would want to showcase. This is actually a book that paints a picture of a faith that can sustain one during difficult times. It can give you meaning and purpose to life. The author paints a pretty positive picture of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He makes a point to show the negative side of the church, but whether you're in or out of a faith community, much of it rings true. If one is interested in a very personal and spiritual journey of an individual who wrestled with his faith and ultimately left it, this would be a great place to start. I give this book 5 out of 5 stars. Now, this is actually, I don't know sequentially where this is going to land with my releases for book reviews, but this is actually kind of like the end of season 1 of the series. So this will be where it's filmed. It may not end up being the last one when it's released, but I just wanted to say this is the last one for season 1. Looking forward to season 2, which we're really excited about. And I just want to thank everybody for all their support, and just have yourself a great summer. Again, the name of his book is Losing My Religion by Eric T. Hansen. I'm going to have a link in the description so that you can purchase this book, and it's done through Hulu Ink, which is it's a publication company he does. It's like a micro publisher. So if you're an author, you might also want to inquire about how Hulu Ink works, and I'm sure he'd be more than happy to have you come on board and publish with him. So either way, have a great summer. Like and subscribe. Please leave your comments. Don't forget to ring the notification bell, and have yourself a great day.